Waffle, waffle, waffle.
Oh, hello there. Welcome to Die Rollin. I'm the ever excitable Adam, and you're here for a Wednesday Waffle. Wednesday Waffles are where I basically sit down and talk to you, at you, about a subject of some kind. I wasn't quite sure what to talk about today, so I just kind of plucked something out of my head. So we're going to talk about collectible card games, my history with them, and specifically we're going to be talking about Magic the Gathering, Star Wars Unlimited, and Lorcana. Lorcana being the Disney game, which I have feelings and thoughts about, so we'll get to that. So before we begin that, I always like to just kind of talk about a few things. So let's talk about what I've been playing to begin with. And I've got a couple of things I'd like to talk about here. So first of all, I played Wormspan. So I have a semi-regular board game group up here. And we kind of take it in turns to host, and we pick our own games, and we play those. And it's pretty good to get stuff that maybe you wouldn't normally get out, or something you haven't played in a while, or something new. So last time I picked a game, it was June, and that was pretty good. I lost, but it was still fun, and it was enjoyable sharing that game with people who have never played it before and didn't really know much about it, and they quite enjoyed it. So that was always good. And it's kind of like recommending a film to someone. If they enjoy it, you're like, oh, that's I'm glad they enjoyed it as much as I did. So same with board games. So we played Wormspan. Now I played Wingspan once, and it was fine. It was fine. It was collecting, trying to kind of get points, bit of a tableau builder. Didn't really feel like there's much interaction with other people at the table, which I'm never a huge fan of, really. If I'm playing a game with people, I like to interact with them in some way, shape or form. Not always kind of screwing them over, but just some kind of thing to make my existence known to them, I guess. And it makes it more social, I feel. So Wormspan is Wingspan, where Wingspan you're trying to collect certain birds and their eggs and things like that and score points off of that. Wormspan you're trying to excavate caves to put in a host of very different dragon forms in there. And then you get victory points at the end of the game, depending on all these different kind of factors. Pretty easy to kind of pick up and learn and play. It feels like one of those games that is kind of easy to pick up, hard to master, and really, this kind of lends itself well to people who can really figure out kind of scores and combinations and stuff. And you are kind of limited to some regards with what cards are currently on display, and that there is a bit of luck in there. But yeah, the same way I feel about Wingspan, which is like, it's okay. I play it, but probably other games I'd prefer to play. Wormspan's kind of the same. I think I enjoyed the theme a bit more with Wormspan. I don't know, I like the idea of digging out caves and then putting in kind of dragons and stuff. Artwork's fantastic. Production quality is top notch. And Jack had also sprung out for some kind of deluxe resources as well, so they look pretty cool. Overall, yeah, it's fine. Like, I don't really didn't not like it. Wasn't, I'm not gonna be in a rush to really want to play that again, but I'd play it again. It's perfectly fine. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why I wasn't as really into it as maybe a lot of other people are. It was fine. I guess that's it. It's fine. That's all I've got to say about it. Okay, so next let's talk about Buffet Boss. So Buffet Boss is a pretty cool game that we got a review copy of from Origami, which is a pretty cool, I think, Singapore board game company, and they've got some pretty cool titles. This one you stack, you've got a little bowl and you're stacking your buffet bowl up with various different things, trying to get the most points. Played it a few times with my kids. Last weekend we sat down and I recorded them playing it because they were desperate to be on the channel and film something. So the unboxing video's up. I think we've had one video on that so far. So yeah, if you want to give my kids a bit of an ego boost, please go and watch that video, and just so we get some people watching it, so they can be like, Dad, has anybody watched it? And I'll be like, yeah, 2 people have watched it now. Anyway, they have done a full gameplay video I've got to edit, and that'll be up probably next week now, depending on how busy I am and what I can get up to. So we played Buffet Boss, and we also played Star Wars Unlimited. So Star Wars Unlimited, the new Star Wars collectible card game by Asmodee. Played it at the at Aircon, and we'll get into that in a minute. But this is the first time I actually played with my own constructed deck. So yeah, my thoughts will be with you momentarily after I finished all this stuff. So they're the games I've been playing. Kind of feel like it was something else, but I don't actually... Yes, there is something else. There is something else. I've been playing Dungeon Saga Origins Glimmer of Greed, the second campaign for the Dungeon Saga Origins kind of dungeon crawler. So we did Trial of Tyranny, and I say we, I mean I. I filmed all of the Trial of Tyranny on the channel. It's been getting a lot of views, a lot of likes, a lot of comments and stuff. A lot of people thanking me for covering this game, and I'm happy to, because yeah, it's delightful. It's really nice. So yeah, so I've been playing that. Shadow to Brimstone has taken a kind of a backseat at the moment whilst I'm trying to paint up the Shikari Nomads. I might get around to filming some more Shadows content this week. It just depends on my on my schedule. Hopefully I can. I do have some free time for filming, but we have some other games that I've got to get up on the channel. So hopefully some more Shadows out very soon. Otherwise, stay tuned. We'll definitely be bringing more Shadows because I love playing it and I know you guys enjoy watching it. But Dungeon Saga Origins, the Glimmer of Greed campaign, you have goblins instead of undead. I've not touched the game since February, I think, was the last time I played the Glimmer of Greed campaign. I've played the initial one. I've since edited it. That is going to be up on Friday. So if you want to see how the goblins are, then check that out. And it's a good indication of what will happen once you finish the Trial of Tyranny campaign, because you were taken through the same characters, same equipment, same abilities. So we can see how balanced this game is, because it might be my guys are crazy overpowered now because of all the items they've got, or it could be they're crazy underwhelming. We shall see. I already know, but you'll see if you watch them. So I played the second mission of that. It was enjoyable. The only problem with playing solo / co-op with this, well, no, not so much co-op, but solo with this, the only problem is the fact that there is no app for the Glimmer of Greed campaign. So I already know everything that the dungeon master would know. So you can kind of game it a little bit and be like, well, why would I go into this room with monsters in? There's no reason to explore that room because it's not going to forward like my kind of progression. However, in my second video, there was like a treasure chest, and I was like, there's no one guard in it. It would make sense to go and explore that, even though it would make that harder for me as the game goes on, because the more bad exploration cards you have in that discard deck, the more interrupts the AI Overlord can have. But I thought, yeah, I was trying to think, what would the character do? What would Saulian of Tarkus do? Would he just leave a treasure chest that's unguarded alone and just go through the dungeon? Or would he go back and try and pilfer some stuff? He tried to pilfer some stuff. So, yeah, I'm quite enjoying Glimmer of Greed. The goblins are a different enemy. There's some interesting abilities they have there. And the goblin bangets, I think they're called, which have like huge bombs. They've got an interesting gimmick with them as well. So I'm basically, guys, hoping to actually just sit down and just record the Glimmer of Greed in its entirety over the next couple of days. I've got some free days to myself, and I feel like it'd be quite good to focus on one game and just clock that game and just get it all done. And then for the next 9 weeks or something, you'll have content for Dungeon Saga Origins, and then I can spend that time where I would be filming Dungeon Saga Origins and then getting some of the rules wrong because I haven't played in a while, filming some Shadows of Brimstone and some of the other glorious games we have coming to the channel. Yes, and I think that's everything I played so far. So that's a lot of different kind of games and a lot of fun. Wormspan, Star Wars Unlimited, Buffet Boss, and Dungeon Saga Origins. So quite different games, really. Which brings me on to painting. What is Adam painting, you ask? Well, I am teaming up with Draco Ideas, Eclipse Studios. I can't remember who else is in there, but we have got Skull Tales Full Sail, we will be recording a ton of content for this game. We already did some videos for this, and Skull Tales, I have a weird relationship with this. So I backed it on Kickstarter when it first came out. It's not one of my first Kickstarters, but it was early on in my Kickstarter career, I believe. And it was billed as a dungeon crawler pirate game. And I was like, great. At that point, I didn't have any real pirate games on my shelves, and I was like, I don't know of any pirate dungeon crawlers. I still don't really know of any pirate dungeon crawlers, so if you do know some, leave them in the comments below. But the first edition came out, and this was, like I say, early on in my kind of Kickstarter kind of like obsession, and we got through quite a few missions for this. I think there were like maybe 10 to 12 missions in the first book, and we got through quite a lot of them. We never finished the campaign because, like I say, early on in Kickstarter obsession, we had new games come in, bigger titles, and we got sidetracked with those. So we never finished Skull Tales. The first edition of Skull Tales as well, they have 3 kind of phases. They have like an adventure phase, a voyage phase, the adventure phase being dungeon crawling on an island or a town or something. The voyage phase being a kind of overworld, you're moving a boat around, you're trying to stop the other players at the table from mutineering and taking the captaincy, as well as like fighting off like monsters and sinking, treasure ships and stuff, and burying treasure as well, something you can do. And then the port phase was so in debate. It was literally just there to, I don't know, level up your characters, and you just kind of ended up going there and not really doing anything. So because we were going there and not really doing anything, I basically thought we should do something in port. So I introduced Liar's Dice to the game, which is kind of like I don't know the origins of it, but it's basically something, they had it in Pirates of the Caribbean, one of those films where you have a bunch of dice under a cup and you're basically saying how many of a certain value you think are on the table amongst everyone. So we added that into them. We actually ended up just playing Liar's Dice quite a few times. Anyway, so the second edition came out. I believe they changed studios. The second edition came out, and it had some new improvements. The voyage phase and town phase were completely overhauled. The voyage phase, they made that much more complex, a lot more options. The adventure phase, pretty much the same, not really many changes there. But the voyage phase, they really just put a ton of additional information into that, and different rules and different kind of boards and overlays and things like that. They also, the town phase, that is the port phase, it's a complete own thing now. It's got like events that happen depending where you go. You can pick up rumor cards. It's still got the same problem that at the very beginning of the game. If you don't really after the first adventure, you get that port phase, you don't really have much money you can spend. It's kind of like Shadows of Brimstone in that way. The first time you get a town, chances are, unless you did very well, you don't really have much you can do in town. So you kind of turn up, you buy a couple of things, some more bandages or whatever, and you come back out. Same thing with the port phase for the Skull Tales. It's, you kind of go along, and if you don't have much money, it's not much you can do there. But now you have loads of events happening, and you're kind of like working against time as well, which is quite interesting. So that was the second edition. They also changed the miniatures. They added some new miniatures to this game. They changed the miniature design. They made some of the miniatures a bit bigger. I had got the upgrade kit for it, so I was using first edition miniatures. Anyway, we got sent a new second edition, which has got all the second edition stuff, as well as a storage solution, which is lovely. So I am currently painting that up. I finally got to the whole point of why I was talking about Skull Tales. I am currently painting through all of the miniatures. There's quite a few to get through, so I'm basically really painting these things so I can get them onto the channel sooner rather than later. If I can get these done by Friday, then once I've done my Dungeon Saga Origins run, I will probably start painting up start filming some Skull Tales as well. So we have already done some videos on this. The rule books for Skull Tales aren't the best, but hopefully going into this next one, we're using the new rule books. There's 3 of them, 1 for each phase, and an additional one for just the kind of campaign narrative. Hopefully going into this, it's going to be a lot easier for people to pick up and play and follow. It's probably going to be a 2-player game. I don't know who's going to be joining me for it at the moment. I'm definitely not going to do it solo because, One of the main fun things about this game is basically you are working together, but you're pirates and you're trying to become the captain at any chance you can get so that you can then get more money when you go to port. So it makes sense to be playing this game semi-cooperatively, aggressively against each other, because it'll be more fun to watch as well. So yeah, not sure who's playing with me yet, but it will be on the channel in the not too distant future, so stay tuned for that. And there is an upcoming Game Found campaign for this. So if you've never heard of this game, you can check out our videos for Skull Tales, which are already on the channel. The new videos will be similar to that, but new miniatures. And yeah, hopefully it'll be a fun format for you guys to watch. But yeah, Skull Tales, that's what I've been painting. The Shikari Nomad's still sitting there waiting to be painted. I have based up a ton of other Shadows of Brimstone miniatures. The Conquistadors, I've done those guys. All of that stuff is ready to be, just have some paint added to them. And part of me is thinking, do I just throw a paint party, get a bunch of people around, and we just get some miniatures and we just paint through these miniatures? I don't know. I'm really finicky about my miniatures. I'm like, oh, do I feel happy about other people painting my miniatures? Maybe not, because I'd much prefer doing them myself. Because if anything goes wrong, that's on me. Saying that, my eldest daughter has painted some of the Skulltail miniatures for me. Yeah, and they turn out pretty well. So, as well as some of the core space miniatures for Firstborn as well, which I have filmed some, but we've just not edited it yet. Which kind of brings me on to Kickstarter. We'll go to Kickstarter just after I talk about editing stuff. So at the moment, guys, I do have a ton of things like that are just sitting there waiting to be edited. We've still got 2 Assassin's Creed videos, which we're just waiting for to go through and edit. I'm currently editing the Glimmer of Greed Mission 2, Adventure 2. But we've got things like, there's a whole Dead by Daylight Deathslinger video, which is just waiting in edit. We have got The Score, which is such a fun game, just waiting in edit. What else? Bounty Hunters, that's waiting in edit. Gladiators, that's waiting in edit. I feel like there's some more as well. But basically, guys, we do have a ton of content waiting for edit. And I've just remembered, guys, I have played another game. We're talking about editing. One of these is with Will, because this is his game. And I was like, you edit it, and we'll see what happens. So, one other game that I played, which I cannot believe I forgot. I knew there was something. I played ISS Vanguard. Holy crap, that was fun. ISS Vanguard, a new game by, well, not so new, but a newish game by Awakened Realms. Awakened Realms, who did Nemesis, Lords of Hellas, some of my favorite games. So an ISS Vanguard is essentially, I said Rogue Angels is like Mass Effect, the board game. This is like Mass Effect Andromeda, the board game. You've got some explorers going to like a particular place in space. They come across something, it all goes horribly wrong, and then a new mystery starts off. Now, I've only played the tutorial for this yet. It took us a couple of hours, and it's basically the exploration side of things is a dice placement kind of game. So you have a narrative going on, you go to a particular location, you try to do a skill test, you can use some of your abilities to try to like change the dice effects. And overall, it was just really fun, really enjoyable. They have an app which is fully voice narrated. And when I say fully voice narrated, I don't mean fully voice narrated like Oathsworn, where Oathsworn is one guy doing the same accent the entire way through. This is actually loads of different people, full voice cast, sound effects, things like that. So much better than the Oathsworn app, if I'm honest. Oathsworn being another game that is in the edit, just waiting to be edited, but we've done some of that. So ISS Vanguard, full high marks for that. We're planning on doing getting together every other week to basically carry on filming that. It's going to be mainly led by Will, so some weeks I might not be on there. It might be one of the other guys from the channel, or somebody Will knows, coming on and filming some of that stuff. So ISS Vanguard, another one to keep an eye out for on the channel once it's edited. So yeah, so sorry. Editing. There's, like I say, we've got a ton of stuff actually in the edit which just need editing together. So watch this space, I guess. I'd love to be able to say, oh, you know, Die Rollin in the month of, you know, April, this is what we've got coming. But I can't yet. Stay tuned for the next, the first Waffle of April. Yeah, we'll kind of I'll go through all of that. Yeah. I've also realised I normally do a game of the month for March, but I haven't actually written down all the games I played and come up with which one is the best game. So expect that in the first video of April as well, where I'll be like, this is the best game I have played. So Kickstarter, Heroes of the Sanctum. I played that solo on the channel. There's a video of me going through that. It was a really fun kind of adventure game. That is currently on Kickstarter. It's doing pretty well from the looks of it, and it is a fantasy co-op slash solo game where you are basically trying to, well, just fight off hordes of evil monsters and stuff. Really fun, really kind of intuitive, really easy to set up, easy to teach, easy to learn, easy to play, just very easy, very thematic. It definitely scratches the itch for me where it's like, oh, I want to get out. You know, some days I'll be sitting here and be like, oh, I want to play a board game, but I really can't be bothered with the setup. Here's a Sanctum does that for you. It's Firetap Games did a fantastic job of that. It's just easy to set up, just very easy, and a small footprint, so you can set up, play it, and it doesn't, you know, doesn't outstay its welcome either. So yeah, check out Heroes of the Sanctum on Kickstarter. That is that's a pretty cool cool game. And I'd be remiss not to mention you can follow Skull Tales on GameFound. You can also see our videos on their thing, which is always nice when people put our videos on their kind of projects, because it's like, well, they must have enjoyed our videos to put them on there. Heart in the Dagger, I think, is a role-playing game by Rowan, Rook, and Deckard, who did Eat the Reich. I don't know too much about it, but honestly, after playing Eat the Reich, any of their games I'm really interested in now. So after I've done this little video, I'll probably go away and have a look at that and go, this looks intriguing. Yeah, so I think that's it for Kickstarter at the moment for me. There's obviously there's the Dead Keep as well on GameFound, which is the latest Simon miniature dungeon crawler. It looks very much like Massive Darkness, which enjoy that game. It's great. The art style is really good. I like the art style in it, but the problem I have is I'd have to be an exceptionally good miniature painter to paint those miniatures to look great. And I'm not an exceptionally good miniature painter. I'm an okay miniature painter. I think I can get away with it. Never do the eyes, because the eyes are terrible. It's very hard to do right. I think I tried to do it once for... I've done it a few times. Sometimes they look okay. Most of the time they look awful. So I just kind of do a flesh wash over the face and just hopefully nobody will see the eyes. Yeah. So that is it for that. Let's talk about collectible card games, guys. So collectible card games, trading card games. Yeah, we've all played them. Or if you've not played them, what have you been doing since, you know, childhood? Cardboard Crack, as Vince from Asgard used to say. These games are basically massive money earners for like Asmodee and Wizards of the Coast. You basically build a deck of cards and you fight somebody. That's essentially what all of these things are. The main kind of element of it is, well, lots of people get loads of different things out of it. Some people have really enjoyed the collecting element of it. Some, you know, collecting all the different cards. Some people enjoy the deck building element of it. Other people enjoy the actual gameplay of it as well. And some people enjoy all three of those things. My history with collectible card games started off with Magic the Gathering. I played that as, I was introduced as probably like a 10-year-old or something like to that. Yeah, went around somebody's house. I cannot remember which friend it was. They had Magic the Gathering. They kind of showed it to me. We played a little game, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. Like the idea of, you know, you're a wizard. You've got a bunch of spells. You've got all these different kind of land kind of terrain cards you're going to be using to like tap and then use that magic to summon things, to fight for you. A lot of strategy where you can defend stuff. It really like ticked a lot of boxes for me as a kid, and when I could afford some, I bought my own kind of first little pack, and me and my brother used to play each other and yeah, lose to each other all the time. I also remember playing a game of it where all these cards always have like they add new keywords to it. So every time they release something new, they add some new keywords, some new mechanics to it. And I remember back in the day, we had like an elephant come out, it had trample. Now, we couldn't find anything in the little rule book that used to come with these things. They don't come with them anymore because it's all online, but it used to have a little rule book and we could not find the trample keyword. So we're like, what is this? We actually ended up phoning a kind of hotline, being on hold for like, I don't know how long, but I imagine my parents' phone bill for that was especially high. But yeah, this are the days before the internet, so you can just Google what something was. It was like, oh, you had to call up a number and wait for someone to tell you what trample did. Now I know what trample does, so there's that. I enjoyed Magic the Gathering up until a guy I knew called Jim Cox decided he'd get involved in it as well, and he had quite a disposable income, so basically bought as many cards as he could and made a deck which was ridiculously like hard to beat. It was essentially a deck of undying creatures, so every time you kill one, they just kept coming back. And it made the game unfun for me, at least. Not because I kept losing, but it just kind of felt like, well, there's no way I can. I guess like it was a bit. I kept losing. I couldn't compete. Like the fun thing for me about Magic the Gathering is how close you can get in. Like how close the matches can be. Sometimes you are absolutely outmatched, and it's like, well, you know, clearly someone's much better at constructing a deck than I am, or playing the game, and that's fine. But yeah, this just kind of felt like there was just he was miles ahead, and I realized it's kind of a bit of a pay to win kind of game. You know, the more money you put in there, the more options you have, and the better decks you can construct. Whether that's a fair kind of sum up of Magic the Gathering, I don't know, but that's how I feel about it. So I kind of stopped playing Magic the Gathering for a while because I was like, well, that's not as fun as I thought it would be. The next kind of collectible card game I got into was probably the Pokemon card game. And I say got into, my brother got really into it and I played some with him. I think I bought some cards myself, but wasn't really as into it as Magic. This time round, you basically had like, rather than kind of deplete somebody's deck, I think you still had hit points and stuff, but you have like some cards that you take out of your deck to begin with, which are prizes. So once you defeat an enemy, I believe you get to draw one of the prize cards. Been a long time since I played Pokemon. And that was interesting. Like, it was a bit different. And, you know, playing with all the kind of Pokemon characters, that was quite fun. I enjoyed doing that. So yeah, there was Pokemon. Next one I'd like to talk about is the Call of Cthulhu card game. So I'm not talking about these lovely games behind me here. I'm talking about the collectible card game, where it was very similar to Magic the Gathering. You had a bunch of different kind of factions which represent the different kind of colors. So you'd have like the kind of criminal element, which I think was red, and the kind of law forces, which were blue. And yeah, it was fantastic. It was such a great card game, and all the artwork and stuff like that, I'm pretty certain went into all the other Arkham Horror games. But yeah, I had a lot of good times playing that Arkham Horror card game. But yeah, once again, I just kind of stopped playing it because I was playing board games, and it was harder and harder to meet up with people to actually play that game. So fast forward a little bit, going into content creation, we've played a few Magic the Gathering, and it's been a while since I played Magic the Gathering. So they introduced things called Commander decks. I had no idea what these things are. And yeah, that was quite interesting playing with Commander decks. I've not really played much of it since, to be fair. And they've now started doing like different themes for Magic the Gathering. So there's now like a Fallout theme, and there's a Dungeons and Dragons theme, and all these themes I believe you can play against each other. But yeah, I don't know. There seems to be so much content for Magic the Gathering that I don't really know where to start with it now, because there's a lot of strategies involved with depending on which cards you have. Some things you can pilot, for instance, and yeah, unless you've got a very good grasp of what all these combinations are, it's going to be very tricky to kind of keep up with more seasoned players. But yeah, Magic the Gathering, I think, is still got a great kind of... it's a great kind of game. It's got some great strategies in there. The fact you can defend and attack is really interesting as well. The games can take 45 minutes to, well, above that. And lots of different kind of variations to different game modes and things like that. But overall, Magic the Gathering for me, love the artwork overall. I love the gameplay, and I think it's a really well done card game. But there is a pay to win element, which is frustrating, to say the least. So next, let's talk about Lorcana. So Lorcana came out. It's a Disney-themed collectible card game. And when it came out, there were a couple of starter decks. 3 different starter decks. Now, these games take a lot less time to play. The other collectible card games I've played take about 45 minutes plus. Lorcana games can take 20 minutes sometimes. Sometimes about 20 minutes, I think. There's an interesting mechanic where you're basically, rather than having like kind of like mana cards where you've got a kind of land cards you get out and then you tap those to pay for stuff, you're actually using cards in your hand as kind of the resource, or the ink in this case. So you're going to have cards which you're going to build your deck with, but you're never going to see because they're going to be in your resources. Also, you're never going to see your entire deck. It's only ever going to be like the top, the top half of your deck or something. So deck construction, I think, is pretty important in this. But I have a massive problem with this game, and that is it's so unbalanced. So if you get a starter deck in any other card game I've played, collectible card game, you get a starter deck and they're pretty balanced. So, if there's 2 starter decks come out, or 3 starter decks that come out from Magic the Gathering, for instance, Commander decks, for instance, I feel they're pretty balanced. You could get, if they release 3 of them, you could get any one of those and be able to play against another person with the same kind of one of the other starter decks and have a pretty balanced match. That is not the case with Lorcana. Lorcana, I think one of the first starter sets you can't beat. It's just really unbalanced, from my experience anyway. And every game I've played of it, it just seems it goes very quick, and it's just really unbalanced, depending on which deck you have. Now, obviously, once you get into the deck building side of things, you can kind of change that out, and you can there's some strategies involved. But it really irks me that it just doesn't feel like these games were play tested, like these decks were play tested enough, because it just feels like, oh, well, we got some lovely artwork, they're going to sell exceptionally well, let's just get these out there. So Lorcana, for me, I think the theme's interesting, the artwork is lovely, but yeah, limited kind of appeal for me, really. I don't really feel like there's much strategy to it. I feel like it's very lightweight, and maybe that's who they're going for. But for me, I was just like, it's okay, but I just feel it's really unbalanced, just from the starter decks themselves. So that's it. And now I know that like Will on this channel, he really enjoys Lorcana, but for me, it's a meh. Which brings us on to the next card game, and the latest card game that I played, which is Star Wars Unlimited. So Star Wars Unlimited, I played the Aircon. You can see my thoughts on that, I guess, from the previous Aircon videos. The artwork isn't for everybody. Some people really hate the artwork, wishing they'd gone for more of the Star Wars deck builder kind of like artwork, which is really lovely and very, very thematic and very fitting with the theme. And whereas this time they've gone a bit more stylized. So what to say about Star Wars Unlimited? I really enjoy it. Really enjoy it. You have a base card, which can be 30 hit points, or it could be less if it's like a special base. And you're just trying to reduce the opponent's base by, to 0. Now, this is similar to Lorcana in the sense that the resources, you're going to be paying them from your hand, rather than like having like specific land kind of cards or resource cards that you'll tap, like energy cards in Pokemon. It's not going to you're not going to get full through your whole deck. So in the kind of starter things we've been doing, we've got a deck of 30 cards, and you're not going to get through all those cards. So some of the more powerful cards you might have in your deck, unless you've got a couple of copies of them, you're not going to see those out every time you play. I mean, that does add a bit of variety to you when you're playing, so that's nice. And the game itself doesn't last too long either. It doesn't outstay its welcome. Whether that'll change when you've got, if you're playing like 2v2 or 1v many or something, I don't know. But just 1v1, the games take about 20 to 40 minutes from my experience of it. The deck building side of things seems a lot easier than other games, from my perspective anyway. You basically have different aspects. So there's a red, blue, green, white, yellow, and another one. And basically, your base card has one of those colors on it. And your leader card, who's basically your main kind of commander character, will have two different colors on them, or maybe the same color. And whenever you're paying for one of those cards from your deck, as long as one of the colors, as long as the colors on that card that you're playing match one of the three colors that you have in your kind of setup with your leader, which has 2 and your base has 1, then it just costs a printed value. So if you had a card that says 3 on there and it had a yellow and you had a yellow base, then that just costs you 3 resources. If, however, it was you didn't have that color in your deck, it costs an additional resource. So it doesn't mean that you cannot have cards which aren't in one of those 3. It just means it's going to cost you more to get them out. So I think there's a lot of interesting ideas there. A lot of thought has gone into that. There's also 2 different kind of fields of play. You have like your leader in the middle and your base, and then you have a space area where you're going to put all of your kind of starships and stuff, and then you have a land area, which is where you put all your ground troops. Similar to Lorcana in the fact that in Magic the Gathering, if someone is attacking you, you can basically you can block it with your units. As far as I was taught, you can't do that with Star Wars Unlimited. So if someone is attacking your base, there's no way you can defend against that. If they're attacking your units, though, your units will obviously, they fight each other and they take each other out. Which I think there's a lot of strategy around doing that. Sometimes it's worth taking out units rather than focusing on the base, and that's when your games can extend in length, I guess. And some of the cards are sentinels, so if you do have somebody, if you have ground forces that you're trying to attack someone's base with, but that kind of player has a ground unit, which is a sentinel, means you can't attack the base, you've got to attack this character. So I feel like there is some strategy there as well, trying to place sentinels on the board, using various different abilities to give your character shields so you don't take any damage. It feels like it's been well thought out and well-oiled machine, really, to be fair. It feels like Lorcana was a bit of an experiment, and then this feels like it's similar to Lorcana, but more like a kind of a deeper game. Maybe that's what they were going for. Lorcana's really feels like it's for the mass market. They've not really put much thought into the gameplay. Sorry out there if you've made Lorcana and you know, I'm putting this out there, but that's just the one guy's thought. I really don't feel as much thought gone into it from the exposure I've had. Whereas Star Wars Unlimited feels like they've really put a lot of thought into it. They've invested a lot of time in playtesting, and it's just a really fun game. So much so that you know, I find myself kind of sitting there when I was building myself a deck thinking, oh, maybe I could buy a couple of like expansions for this, or a couple of like little booster packs, which is dangerous. It's dangerous, these kind of games, because they are like cardboard crack, like Vince used to say, because they're very addictive. It's very easy to just kind of like spend a ton of money on this just in the hope that you get some rare cards that you can use. And yeah, like every time a new release comes out, you're kind of like chomping at the bit to get those new cards, get those new foil cards out there, and the newest kind of set. And I guess like there's FOMO with everything, really, especially with board games. Like a new game comes out and I'm like, oh man, I should really get that. But then I think, oh, I've got to the point in my life now, I'm like, yeah, there is a really cool new game coming out, but hey, look, there's Lobotomy. I've never completed that. Oh look, there's Shells of Brimstone, Gates of Valhalla, still playing that. Oh look, there's Descent 3rd edition, which I played like once. And these games are just kind of sitting there going, Adam, play us. All these Arkham Horror over here, I've like played 2 of those to completion. Whereas I've got a bunch more, and then I see new ones coming out. I'm like, I should pick those up. But Adam, you've not played the ones you got. Play those first, you absolute idiot. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm an idiot. And Star Wars Unlimited has really kind of reawakened a desire in me to play collectible card games. And that's dangerous. It's a very dangerous and slippy kind of path to go down, to be fair, because they're very easy to get hold of, very, very cheap, really. But the amount you spend on them, it soon adds up. So I'm going to try to avoid picking up more Star Wars Unlimited and just stick with the cards that I have. I've got enough for a couple of decks and a few things I've got for this. And I can always trade my brother if he gets a lot more cards. But overall, I would say if you are looking to see a new collectible card game and you want to give it a go, Star Wars Unlimited is fantastic fun, really easy to learn, really easy to play, and yeah, some interesting strategies, interesting decisions. The artwork's not for everyone, but overall, it's pretty good. So yeah, top marks for me. Definitely check it out if you want to. But if you are worried that you're going to spend a ton of money on it, avoid because you will. It's addictive. The nature of it is just, that's how it is. Anyway, I think that's everything from me. Tonight is going to be a fantastic evening for me, hopefully, because I'm going to be running Eat the Reich with John from Tryman Games and Danielle from Danielle is Always Evil from Instagram. And Will and Christopher are also joining us for that. So if you want to see some Eat the Reich, stay tuned because I'm going to try and get that edited pretty sharpish. Off the top of my head for April, depending on what we've got done, you can expect to see Dungeon Saga Glimmer of Greed. You can expect to see ISS Vanguard. I'm sure Will would have got that sorted out as well. And definitely the Eat the Reich, that's going to be up this coming month. With regards to Shelter Brimstone, hopefully you'll see some more content for that. We've got a couple of review copies we're going to be playing over the weekend. So there's going to be some more reviews coming out. And yeah, I realised a lot of the review copies we've done gameplay videos for, but haven't actually come up with a review. Normally it's like, at the end it's like, oh, you know, 2 things you like, 2 things you don't like, but no real deep dive into what we really enjoy about those. So expect to see more kind of videos of me just talking at you about games that we've played that we've quite enjoyed or not enjoyed so much. If there are any games that we have that I've not mentioned in this that you would love to see some more of, or games you've seen on my shelves in the background which we've not really covered, then please let me know in the comments below because, yeah, like whatever you guys want us to do, we will try to do that. I'm aware Dungeons of Doria is something we've played, but we haven't actually got that on the channel yet, so that will be coming out soon. And we've got some other really interesting games on the horizon. Role-playing games is something we're going to be doing a lot more of as well as the time goes on, just because they're fun to do, they're easy to organise, mostly, I guess. Yeah, so you should be seeing some more of those on the channel. Yeah, so if there's anything you want from us, let us know in the comments below, guys. Thank you so much for all the support you're giving us. And look out for us at UK Games Expo. We will be there. It's going to be mainly me and Christopher, I believe, for the majority of it. So yeah, if you see us, come say hi. Because yeah, it'd be lovely to see you guys. Always a pleasure, never a chore. Anyway, I've been the ever-excitable Adam. I hope you have a lovely Wednesday evening. And until next time, guys, stay safe or die rolling.